Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to the beautiful Cayo Coco, Cuba. So buckle up because I'm going to take you on a little adventure with me snorkeling in Cayo Coco. So this is the resort. It was actually beautiful, and honestly the staff were absolutely amazing at this resort. This is Memories Flamenco in Cayo Coco, Cuba. And honestly, this has been my first experience in Cuba, and I probably will never pick another resort. This is, from what I've heard, one of the better resorts to be at. The food is amazing, the staff are amazing, and I mean, look at these gorgeous white sand beaches and tell me I'm wrong. Now, I'm not a beach person. I don't really particularly like sand, but my favorite part of this resort is the beach. This part actually isn't part of the actual resort beach. It's actually off resort. I found this on a walk and realized I need to go snorkeling here. So the next day I immediately grabbed my snorkel gear and we started walking to go snorkeling. While walking to go snorkeling, I actually discovered this poor little starfish. He had been being pummeled by these really crazy waves and was about to become a dried up prune on the beach. So I grabbed him and I put him back in the water and somewhere a little bit more calm so that he wouldn't get himself hurt. So he was a safe little guy. And honestly, it worked out perfectly because my goal on this trip was to find myself a starfish, and he was the first starfish I saw, and I got to pick him up and put him back in the water, so he was all safe. So I was very happy about that. So we keep on walking down the beach a little bit farther. There is no other main resort here for quite a distance, so there is quite a bit of beach real estate to actually enjoy on this resort and have those quiet spaces, which I really do enjoy. And I'm not really a beach person, but when I do like quiet space. So after walking for about 10 minutes, I find this really clear patch of water that I decide to hop in on. So I suit up and I get in and I realize just how clear this water is. It is beautiful. And look what I find, the thickest starfish I have ever seen in my life. My entire goal on this trip was to find a starfish, and this is my second one of the day already, and we just started. He is thick, dummy thick, so cute. I thought it was the cutest starfish ever. And this location did not disappoint. Now, I'm not a marine expert. I actually don't even know what this is. It looked like some sort of sea anemone and or jellyfish. I couldn't really tell the difference, to be perfectly honest. So I didn't bother to touch this one for obvious reasons. I am not educated enough in sea life to really know what this is. So if any of you know what this is, please drop in the comments what this is. It kind of looks like a jellyfish to me, so I watched from afar. So right after our possible near-death experience with that possible jellyfish, I decided to go searching for some souvenirs, and I found a sand dollar. That was my next bucket list item to find on this trip. I have always wanted a sand dollar, and I found several on this trip. So many that I have too many now, actually. I'm going to craft them in some way. I'm not sure how. But I got back to swimming and just enjoying this peaceful, quiet atmosphere. I'm literally the only one out here snorkeling. It is such a beautiful, clear, sunny day. The water was beautiful, just absolutely breathtaking. And when you look through this footage, all you can see is just endless ocean ahead of you. It is just gorgeous water. I can't even put it into words. So this area actually has a lot of tide pools to it, and when I went out to hydrate, I ended up finding this huge starfish that was very dangerously close to washing up on shore, much like the one that we found earlier in the morning. So I decided to pick him up. I kept him in the water, we picked him up, and we moved him all the way out to where I was initially snorkeling, where it's a little bit calmer and hopefully he will be safe and sound. So after I relocated Mr. Thick Starfish here, I said my goodbyes and we moved on to the rest of our snorkeling adventure for the day. So thank you, Mr. Starfish, for making my trip. So after doing some Baywatch rescue work for our little starfish friends, I come across my first conch shell. This was such a beautiful shell, this red pinky color. It was so amazing. My bucket list was to get home with a empty conch shell. Unfortunately, when I picked him up, I thought this conch shell was empty, but as a closer inspection and I realized, no, there's a little buddy in here. So I quickly, when I realized, put him back in the water and put him back to where he was. Maybe next time we might find ourselves a conch shell that's empty. So after apologizing to our little conch friend, I decide to go have some lunch. When I get back, I decide to go snorkeling again in a new location, and I come across these little fish. I don't really know what they're called. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but I have no idea. They're just little fish friends that I decide to join their school and go swimming. And they are adorable. They have the cutest colors and the cutest little eyes. And they had a small little group, and I followed their little group probably to a point of annoyance at this point. They just wanted to eat some stuff off the bottom of the seafloor. But I just wanted to get a closer look at my new little found friends. Honestly, the best part about this resort is that I didn't even have to pay for any off-resort excursions because it's all right here at the palm of your hands. And honestly, I quite enjoyed my time snorkeling with these fish and just enjoying the sea life in its natural way. And I don't think I would have had as much fun if I paid for an excursion to go see a bunch of fancy looking fish when I could just swim in these beautiful clean waters and see some fish that maybe don't get as much celebrity status as the ones that you would see when you're out snorkeling. So I quite enjoyed the fact that this resort does offer the off-site excursions, but I felt very unnecessary purchasing them when I have all of it just right at the beach, right in front of me, right on resort. Now, this resort did have quite a few off-resort excursions that you can do. I was quite surprised considering it was Cayo Coco and not necessarily the most popular part of Cuba. It did offer a dolphin experience, a snorkeling experience, and I believe some sort of ATV experience as well. But I was more than happy not going on any of those excursions. Look at these fish. You're telling me I would have had more fun on an ATV? I'm sorry, no, but I had more fun joining this school of fish and pretending I was in The Little Mermaid. I could not get that song out of my head during this entire swim through with this school of fish. And honestly, I love to do a lot of my trips on a budget. I'm a savvy girl. I like to save money. So I like to have a lot of these experiences just organically. And this was one of those experiences that I will never forget. This school of fish loved me. And I swam with them for at least an hour. It was beautiful. I could not get my eyes off of them. It was so mesmerizing to just watch them and swim with them and just pretend I was a fish. Now, as much as I'm a savvy girl, even I was a little bit concerned I might have been a little too savvy on this trip. I paid in total $880 for this trip, all inclusive. That included the flights, the hotel, and all the food. It was all inclusive for $880. Now, I had heard from a lot of people that Cuba was not a destination you really wanted to vacation to, mostly because the food complaints. I am definitely a foodie. I do love my food. So that was a big concern to me after I booked this trip, was that maybe I had gone a little too cheap on this trip. But I decided to dive in and give it a shot and hope for the best. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with the value that I got from this trip. Considering I paid $880 for this trip for a whole week, all inclusive, this was honestly the best bang for my buck that I could have possibly have done. Now, I like this resort so much that I actually went back a second time. And over the last couple of times I've been, I have noticed a few things that could use some improvements, much like the beach showers that we just passed in the video. Those are kind of hit and miss. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. In all fairness, the second time I went, they were being renovated, so hopefully they have since fixed that problem. But other than that, the beach itself, I would rate 9 out of 10 in terms of quality of this beach. So you're probably like, wow, Candace, why are you giving this beach a 9 out of 10? Well, I'll tell you really quickly. It has a lot to do with the fact that this beach is massive. It is the size of this resort plus. It is the largest resort beach I have ever been on in my life. If you go to the right of this area, you're going to come across another resort, but much farther down. And to the left, there isn't another resort for about 20 minutes walk, so it's quite far. This little snack bar too, and actual bar area is also very handy. There's a couple of these. There's another one off to the right as well, farther down. That one is near the Diamond Club area. So that one is also available. And there's also a volleyball and horseshoe area that you can use as well. Now, if we're talking about complaints about the beach, the reason I did not give this a 10 out of 10 was honestly because there's a couple of things. One of the main things for me was the maintenance of the beach chairs themselves. The huts were actually very maintained and actually well done. I had no complaints about any of the hut structural integrity. But the beach chairs, some of them, if not a lot of them, were broken. And that's mostly because people like to drag the chairs to areas that are quiet on the beach. And unfortunately, they end up breaking them, or for whatever other reasons. So quite a few of these blue and white chairs were actually broken, which does suck when you're trying to sit somewhere really far down the beach and you realize that the chairs that are farthest down the beach are all broken. You have to go drag another one. It's not exactly the greatest. So I would like them to work a little bit more on the maintenance of the chairs. But aside from that, there are several that are totally fine. So you don't have a problem finding a chair, even though multiple of the chairs are broken. Aside from the chair problem, there isn't really a lot about this beach that's a negative, to be perfectly honest. It's private. It's clean. The cleanliness of the beach is also a really big plus for me. There isn't a lot of like sharp things or garbage on the beach. They come by every morning, probably about 5:30 in the morning, and they do a little tractor run across the beach just to get it nice and clean for anybody that is coming to the beach first thing in the morning from anything that might have washed up on shore. So they do really maintain the seaweed situation, which does get quite intense here from time to time. There was a couple of times that I was here and it was peak season and the tides were just really rough and the beach was covered in seaweed, and they did a really good job maintaining that. This has honestly become one of my go-to places to do any of my photo shoots now because the beach is clean, it's well maintained, and it's super private, and those sunsets are to die for. In this particular moment, I was actually just finishing up a shoot before I was getting ready to go back onto a plane. Unfortunately, it was so windy that the audio from my GoPro was really not good. So I was just talking about how deep the waves have cut into the sand here. It was just super strong that day. So I actually had to pack up early and head back to the resort. So if there's one thing I recommend that you do if you stay at this resort is get the Diamond Club perks. My first trip included the Diamond Club perks, and I never went back after that. Honestly, it's worth it just for the breakfast. When I went back the second time, I didn't actually have it included, so I asked the receptionist, and she was more than happy to upgrade me to the Diamond Club bracelet, and it was about $100. What it includes is a member-only lounge at the front. It also includes a member-only area on the beach, as well as the best part, which is the Diamond Club member-only restaurant. This restaurant can be booked for lunch and dinner by non-members using one of their restaurant reservation days. However, the breakfast is only for members only. And I'm telling you, it is worth it just for the breakfast. It's so much more peaceful in the morning. You get much more options for food at this specific area. And I did notice in the off-peak areas when I did go that the food was more reserved for the Diamond Club members. So I went to the buffet just to kind of see what they had, and the food choices were much slimmer than what the Diamond Club members received. So it is worth it just for the extra perks on the food in the morning. Speaking of food, they also have an amazing Asian restaurant with really fresh Asian-inspired food. They have a Mediterranean restaurant and a Cuban restaurant, as well as the buffet. And if you're traveling with kiddos, there is a whole kids splash pad and daycare, as well as an on-site hospital as well. Well, that's it for now, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed my trip, and I will see you next time.